Afternoon, everyone, and big thank you to Dr. GVK sir, and congratulations on the super success of 3DCon 2025. Thank you, Chairperson sir. And a disclaimer at the outset that I'm not uh, accomplished expert at AI, but I think like all of you, I'm curious and we are learning. So, artificial intelligence in the management of diabetes, everybody is talking about artificial intelligence and its applications and how can it make life simple for them, because all those who are practicing using it are definitely claiming that it does. So, just some concepts to go through. Well, artificial intelligence has been around for a long time, since the 1950s itself. And this just means that intelligence exhibited by machines, particularly computers, where we are enabling them to mimic the human behavior or human intelligence. And for example, computer playing chess with the human is artificial intelligence, and it's been around for a long time. So, the earliest examples have been with machine computers, mobile phones. So, anything a machine does that a human does would come under artificial intelligence. And a lot of other terms are also being used, for example, machine learning, deep learning, generative AI. So, it's all very confusing, and they are being interchangeably used, all these terms, but there are differences, and let's learn about those differences very quickly. Now comes machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence where machines constantly learn and improve using the data and algorithms. So, for example, machine learning is at its core, it has all these algorithms that analyze and learn from data, improving upon what has been already done over time rather than just being programmed explicitly. So that's machine learning. So for example, Google and Facebook, from all the data that is fed into them, they are learning and changing their behavior, right? You see that over time, if you are surfing particular sites, all these will start prompting you, will start showing you those particular items on a priority. Next comes deep learning. Now, this is complex, involves neural networks. This is it's very similar to the human brain and the neural networks that we have. And it involves computer vision, where the computer is seeing things like a human does. And there's natural language processing, which means again the text can be, it understands the human language and the text can be transcribed into speech. So, for example, there's Google Lens and then there's facial recognition. All this is because of these two particular features, the computer vision and the natural language processing, NLP. But this is very similar to the complex neural networks that we have. It analyzes, processes everything very similarly. And now comes one of the most advanced subsets of deep learning, which is generative AI. So all this has become so advanced that we are actually now able to create from all the learning that we can and all the raw data that we feed into the machines. With the algorithms and patterns recognized, they can actually create either text, audio, or visual. So of course the commonest being ChatGPT, and it's everybody seems to know what ChatGPT is, but there are many others, for example Gemini, Meta, etc., etc. So generative AI is the way to go, because that can create and help us in many different ways. The top generative AIs, I've just listed some of the examples here, but ChatGPT is one of the most prominent and common ones. The applications of generative AI are across a myriad of fields: music, art, even content creation, virtual worlds, fashion and product designing. and even other critical fields like financial forecasting, etc., and healthcare diagnosis and prognosis is not left behind at all. And you will see how. So all those who want to, you can take this barcode and download the Chat GPT on your phones. The four common subsets or the four common areas in diabetes where AI is applied quite successfully and quite prominently are as follows. The automatic retinal screening, which has been there for a while now, and a lot of us are familiar with this, and or at least have seen the reports, and we know how this works. There's also an upcoming clinical decision support system, and there are amazing and fantastic examples of the same. There's also risk stratification and prediction, also using AI, and then there are patient self-management tools as well. So going to the automatic retinal screening, for example, the deep learning algorithms, what they do is with all the fed images, they develop a certain level of intelligence, and then they are able to predict, or they are able to actually tell you whether it has there is any abnormality or there isn't. But every time a machine gives you a wrong report and that feedback is fed back into the system, then that learning gets sharper and sharper, and then when you go over 100, 500 cycles of this kind of learning, it becomes more and more accurate. And today we know that with this there is training of the system, there is validation and testing, and we have reached a successful level of the same. AI applications in diabetes, well, the clinical decision support system, this is also very interesting. So data from all the sources, for example, the blood glucose meter or the CGM, insulin pump, pen, manual inputs, even activity trackers that patients maintain, all that is raw data, that is the source of data. You have the raw data that's fed into the system, then you have different algorithms and models, and with all the learning that it has done with all the previously fed data into it, you have fantastic outputs. Something like, say, the continuous blood glucose level predictions. We know that insulin pumps are able to do that. There's also postprandial hypoglycemia prediction as well, which is an important aspect, and even something with respect to nocturnal hypoglycemia. So how cool is that? You have the first FDA approved product with the same, and it's called DreamMed Advisor Pro. And how it works is the patient data from all the different sources, the CGM, the blood glucose meter, and also the insulin pump is fed into the data management system. The healthcare provider or the doctor asks for a recommendation from that system. Now, this processes all the data that has been fed into it, and then it looks at the patterns of the highs, lows, and also analyzes every dosing event that has been fed into it. And from that, it makes a personalized recommendation, and this can include anything like the basal rate or the hypoglycemia event prediction or the carb ratio, or even personalized diabetes management aspects, tips to the patient. Now the healthcare provider gets this personal recommendation. He or she can see it, edit it, and then hand it over to the patient, who gets a personalized recommendation based on his or her all the data that was fed into the data management system. And this is a very famous paper by Revital, Nimri, Tade, Battolino and group, the Nextstream Consortium, where they tested this, and they found that this is as good as an endocrinologist. So you do not need that much of manpower, that much of experts wasting their time on simple things which the machine can do. Next, you have the closed loop systems. Today, again, we know that here there is integration of the sensing, which is the CGM, with the insulin pump, and the same data gets relayed onto the phone. But there are algorithms and insights and automated alerts fed in, which can help us predict the glucose, recognize the pattern, and provide personalized feedback again, with all the predictive analysis that is fed into it. So this has been a game changer, closed loop systems, where it requires minimal input from the patient, caregiver, or the healthcare provider, and yet because of all the learning that it does and the learning on the job as well, it is able to predict the future patterns. Bionic pancreas, this is a step further. This was approved just 2 years ago, and this integrates extremely well with the CGM, and the only input you need to give is the body weight and just the meal announcement. So you do not need to count the carbs, you do not need to adjust the basal rate, or you do not need to feed it with any correction doses. It just handles it beautifully on its own. Right? But of course, one disclaimer I would like to put here is that every type 1 person living with type 1 or the caregiver must know how to drive the stick shift vehicle before going on to the automated one. So yes, AI is great, but we must also know what happens if this is failing. Moving on, the risk stratification and prediction. Again, even there are systems where the facial images are fed into the computer, and with learning of thousands of such images of diabetes versus non-diabetes, it can help predict who is going to get diabetes or who has diabetes and who does not. So these are again predictive and early detection models which have been which are leveraging AI. Again, a tongue feature fusion also has been done to predict pre-diabetes and diabetes with machine learning. This is really very, very advanced, and not just one, there are several studies to support this claim, where they have been able to predict new onset diabetes with non-glycemic parameters. So just looking at the face or looking at the tongue fissures or other non-glycemic parameters like the ECG changes or other parameters, you can predict whether you're going to have diabetes or not. So again, this is this is reality, this is happening. You can also cluster the clusters that were formed. And this is a data-driven cluster analysis of 6 variables which are not all related. It's HbA1c, the BMI, the age, the HOMA beta and the HOMA IR, along with the GAD positivity or negativity that was fed into the system, and then novel subgroups of adult onset diabetes and their association with the outcomes were generated. So even the clustering is possible today with machine learning and AI. Next, we go on to the patient self-management tools, and here a prospective multi-central observational study, I quote, which looked at the mobile health technology based diabetes education on the effect of that on glucose control in those with diabetes and pre-mixed insulin, and they found that whether it was the HbA1c reduction was best seen with the number of diabetes courses completed, the amount of time spent on them, the frequency of participation in the daily quiz that they had in the model, and learning mode in diabetes courses. Of course, both visual and audio fared far better than visual alone. All this was possible using machine learning through the mobile phone technology, and it was found to enable better outcomes, clinical outcomes. So again, there's a lot of application in this respect. Carb counting. Now this particular study looked at visual carb counting by a dietitian as compared to an application called GoCarb, and there was absolutely no difference between the two. In fact, give me 1 minute more, please. In fact, GoCarb, they could identify what the app was lacking and what the dietitians were lacking, and they could make the app, the machine learn it more and more and get even more accurate counting of the carbs, which means that in real time you cannot contact your dietitian or your healthcare provider all the time, and not everybody can afford the bionic pancreas or the closed loop systems. So what do you do there? How do you adjust your insulin doses for the pre-meals? This is the way you can just take a picture and feed it into GoCarb, and it will tell you what is the dose because it has counted the carbs for you. Medical nutrition therapy, again there are several papers. Healthy eating, look at the number of apps which can tell you whether what is the composition of the meal that you are eating and how accurately can you manage the dose. Similar aspects in physical exercise as well. And then again, blood glucose prediction. This was a very famous study as well, artificial intelligence based machine learning models that could predict the glucose variability and the occurrence of hypo in the fasting individuals as well. And then optimal insulin dosing, and even optimal OAD or dose escalation based on the data provided. They could very successfully say what was the next dose intensification or what was the next addition of OAD required for that particular patient as compared to a physician deciding the same. Predicting complications is also not left behind. So many studies, we don't have to go through the details, but so many studies can predict it well in advance. In fact, this is a multispectral wound imaging. Not even by doing any cultures, the imaging itself can tell you whether the infection is gram positive, linked with gram positive bacteria or gram negative. This is almost like magic. But we have reached that level of machine accuracy. And so many factors it can pick up to tell you, predict the wound healing or the requirement for amputation in the future in these individuals. So with that, a very quick example of how you can customize ChatGPT and make it a diabetes clinic assistant. And these slides I have borrowed from my friend Dr. Rakesh Parikh. And so this is his image, but with the help of a diabetes clinic assistant, you can get lot of benefits of the same. It can help you with a personal web page, or it can help you with superconductors, or what have you. And again, yes, so here it will ask you, and you can feed in what exactly you need. And it will again give you the output because you asked for a telepath assistant and a diabetes clinic assistant. It can help you with a medical dictionary. It can help you with calculating different things like the BMI or the ASCVD risk score or the FIB-4 score. It can help you with the clinical diagnosis as well. It can help you with the interpretation of lab reports. The medical images also can be fed into it, and it will tell you what it means. And individualized diet charts can be given. If you don't have the resources of hiring a dietitian, this can be used very, very successfully. So again, you can ask the medical dictionary, if you've not heard a term or you would like a further explanation on the same, that can be used. So these are just examples of the same of what I just told you. So with that, I thank you very much for a patient hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Puvi.